Hi, welcome to the first ever episode of High Hopes and Harmonies. I'm Joe Brewer, or One Man Boycott is the name of my band. My artist name is One Man Boycott. This is a track called Fingers Crossed. It's by me. We got a good conversation today, but I thought we'd start with some music. This is Fingers Crossed. Enjoy. That was at least most of Fingers Crossed. If you like that, it's One Man Boycott. So today we talked to my booking agent, Ethan Young. He plays in a band called Bother. They're but he corrected me in the conversation. They're a 5-piece post-hardcore band from Cardiff, doing some good things, releasing some good music. He also runs an agency. He also is setting up a studio and a rehearsal space in Cardiff. Obviously with the band, he's got things coming as well. I need to be careful what I say because I know a few things that he doesn't want to talk about and we don't talk about. But yeah, this is a good conversation, a good way to kick off me going into this project. I was not ready at all, but I think we did an okay job. I think we got away with it. Hopefully this intro that I'm recording now and the outro I will record later on is going to cut the mustard. Yeah, see, so I'm not ready for this. I need to calm down, find my kind of talking to you voice without being... I'm used to being way more casual when I'm talking to people, so I feel like this could go one or two ways. Thanks for being here if you're listening to this. Let's play a track by Bother. It's going to be their first single, Crawl.
Suburban hollow, my factors and various contributing reasons that sort of direct to this conclusion of what we see. But just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what we're talking about here, this is data from the National Census conducted in between 20...
That was Crawl by Bother. Go and stream it. Go and listen to it. Go and support the guys. I'm sure you will after this conversation anyway. Let's jump over into the conversation. Like I said, it's pretty informal, at least to start with. But we cover some good stuff. Thanks again. And let's go and say hi to Ethan. Just to make it clear that this is absolutely the first episode of High Hopes and Harmonies, and that I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared at all. Ethan, are you prepared?
No, not really, but excited all the same, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was going to introduce you as a 4-piece post-hardcore band from Cardiff. Correct me if I should say something else.
No, not really. I mean, technically 5-piece. We've got another guitarist, Tom, but he's like just had a little girl sort of like tail end of last year. Not even tail end, like last summer now. So he's just like, I'm like off touring and stuff to just do dad things. But yeah, technically 5, but yeah, presently 4.
Sweet. So I guess we can jump straight into it. Like, just tell me, start by telling me and anyone that's listening or watching about your band Bother.
Where to start? So yeah, we basically.
Well, how did it start?
How did it start? So basically, myself and Aidan, we were playing together in a band before. We're still just kind of like throwing ideas back and forth, just kind of musically, and kind of like chatting about what sort of direction we wanted to go in like next. Initially, we were gonna do something like completely different, and we were like jamming with some other guys and working on a different project that sort of just never like really came to be. And we had some shows just like lined up that we kind of didn't really have an outfit to take that was tour ready, I suppose. But yeah, we just sort of we knew Ryan anyway. And at this point, Terry wasn't kind of on the scene as yet. Like he was super busy with a lot of the Sydney Fate stuff that was going on at the time. So we just got a session drummer. We got Yai. We kind of threw together the kind of set list that like we had at the time, and yeah, we went out and we did like a 3-day tour with our mates in Distort, who are like a hardcore punk band from Leeds.
So how many? Because I remember talking to you about this, but how many songs were in that set list originally?
Because
it wasn't a lot, was it?
5 originals, I think, and maybe like 1 cover, 2 covers.
Yeah. Dude, just getting straight out there.
Yeah, and I think it was sort of the stuff that was all on the track, like on the backing track for the live set, was just like the demos that we'd written. It wasn't kind of like studio produced. It was just kind of like, oh well, yeah, like yeah, I've done all
That's
the
all
synths.
we've got. Chuck it on there.
Yeah, just put it on and see what happens. Yeah.
Like what in terms of backing tracks and stuff, I think that's quite an interesting thing to dive into a little bit. And I've been busting my ass trying to sort ours out. But where to start with that? But what let's start with what you guys run now. Like what you run now on the backing tracks, and then what you kind of started with, and if you've changed your thinking on it, added or taken away.
So I think in terms of like musically what's on the track now, like we're literally about to go out on another tour in about a week's time, and
that's the one with Liquid State, right?
Yeah, supporting Liquid State for 4 days. It's gonna be sick. But so we're currently like completely revisiting the set like for that.
No stress.
No, hopefully it does. It sounds sick, man, and like we're already gassed about it. But at the moment we've like put a few more like vocals on the track. We like didn't have any vocals on the backing beforehand, and the guys don't do backing vocals at the moment. So we just put some vocals on, synths. We've got some keys, strings, a little bit of guitar, just where like Tom's obviously not able to do the live set right now. But most
is
of
that
what we
with
do,
the guitars, mate? Just to jump in over you there, mate. The with the guitars, what's your thinking behind? Like, are you just covering what Tom's not there for, or are you like putting some extra bits in? Because with ours, what I like to do is supplement what's going on stage. I don't like the idea of having multiple guitarists on stage, really, in the kind of music that I play. But what I like to do is have like a texture of guitars coming in choruses, for example. Is it like that, or is it just substitute?
It's basically just sort of like a couple of kind of like lead lines and stuff where Tom's not able to kind of be there. Like pretty much all the guitars that like you hear in the set is like Aidan doing it live. Like, just kind of little embellishments that kind of can't be like played simultaneously with just like one guitarist is what we'd put on the track.
Yeah. That's kind of cool, dude. And I think like, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, because like the music that I play obviously isn't like, we play in quite different genres at the moment, at least. And is there like a different kind of thinking behind like a perception of crowds, of audiences that, they've got backing tracks, or, is it like a good thing or bad thing, or can you get away with less or more?
I think like it's not really something I've kind of experienced people commenting on like while I've been out with Bother very much, just because a lot of the bands that we play with have kind of got similar setups, and we're rarely, I suppose, the only bands on the bill that'll have like any track or in-ears going on or anything. But it definitely in like projects I've been involved with, like before we've played gigs and people come over and been like, well, man, like that was like way too much stuff on the track, like I really wasn't into it. And like, I think depending on kind of like the setting and kind of the crowd you're playing to, like, maybe it can be a little bit something people pick up on, but it's not something that I've noticed.
Because I kind of feel that with my experience with backing tracks and using them live, coming from a place where you wouldn't dream of doing that, and then now I can't put enough on the backing. Do you know what I mean? Like I like putting all the little things you've written in the studio that like supplement what your live band would do. It's kind of like bringing my work from the studio. This is the way I look at it anyway, bringing my work from the studio into a live setting so I can share that with people that have turned up to see us play. But I don't, because you touched on this earlier when you were saying we only had the demo versions on the tracks. What I try and do is I try to re-record anything that I've done for a studio session. I'll re-record that specifically for the tracks. And the reason why I do that, it sounds stupid, and I might change my mind on this like in the future, but I want to not play them as well as I would in the studio. I want like the harmonies to be, there's a couple of things I was working on it today. There's a couple of harmonies in that are out of tune. I'm like, well, that's staying in there because maybe I didn't sing it right on the night. You know what I mean? It's not they're not so out that you're going to go, oh, fucking hell, every night's going to be like horrible. But I know this is kind of a counter argument to itself almost. It's almost like an oxymoron, right? So like you're using backing tracks, but they're almost not perfect.
Yeah,
It doesn't really make sense, right? But like I make guitar mistakes and no, the synths are pretty much perfect, I guess. But yeah, the guitar mistakes and the vocal mistakes as well, I just kind of leave them in there. As well as some like production funny tricks that I like to put in there. So when I record main vocals, I normally do like an octave vocal, but I affect it so it sounds like a demon or something. I bring that up live just for fun. Because like you gotta have fun with it as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think like I know like Yayan definitely like he's like pretty much the mastermind behind kind of all of our kind of like mixing, mastering, all our like sim stuff is like basically all him. And he likes to throw in a few little like quirky bits, a little like few like little Easter egg kind of things that he puts in there. I think like when we were first kind of like actually I think the first couple of tours we did, not even like the first one, we were like running the in-ears we had like a little 8-channel like Behringer mixing desk that he'd like cobbled together from somewhere, and then we were like running the track in mono through that, so we couldn't kind of like adjust any individual levels or anything. And then like
so you'd run like click one side and tracks the other, right?
And
it's a classic. It's an old school classic.
Just feeding trying to feed the click back out and like of this little like 8-channel desk thing was just like a little bit ropey, but we've tried to come on a little bit like since then. So I think now like we've sort of started using like the rack unit and stuff. So now we've got that control over
what
like
rack are you using?
Like that.
Like what stuff are you using?
I'm not the guy to ask about the specific make and models. To be fair, I kind of like just turn up and like put the headset in. But yeah everyone's by their own in-ears now, and like everyone's got live mix, which is like wicked. It was like something we kind of said we like wanted to do initially, but just kind of like time constraints and budgeting and stuff. It was pretty much from November we dropped the first single in like October 2022. November 22 we did the first tour, and then we were basically just doing shows like
first, right?
Yeah, Cruel was Halloween Halloween 22, and then we did Slow Fuzz in July 23. But
I mean I did actually make I don't want to butt into what you're explaining, but I did make a note of the fact that Slow Fuzz got played on Radio 1, and I wanted to dive into that because you've like well, you've been about for a little while now, but you haven't released like tracks, you know what I mean? You've and I kind of wanted to touch on production of them because they sound great, and I know that we've spoken before and you've said that there's like a guy in Brazil or something that you were talking to that did some of the work on the production, and I wanted to touch on that. So you brought up the singles, and tell me about it.
So like, you know, to just sort of like touch on the Radio 1 stuff, like that was sick. Like I think we didn't really kind of expect Slow Fuzz to kind of get heard by as many people as it did in the end, and like it was doing really kind of surpassing our expectations anyway with just kind of the feedback we were getting around it. And we got the email to say that Alex wanted to play it on a show, and like that was sick. So we were gassed about that. I definitely think it like put us in like a better position kind of coming out of the summer, and kind of it's definitely like can't really say too much about some of the live stuff we've got planned for like the end of this year, but it's definitely like put us in a much better position than we would have been without it.
For sure.
And like in terms of like the production, I think we've basically with Cruel we did everything ourselves, aside from the mixing and mastering, which we sent to a contact that we had out in Brazil to do all the production. He did the live drums on the record as well. He did the live drums for Slow Fuzz. We actually got a whole bunch of stuff tracks that we weren't going to use on kind of the stuff we were working on kind of to release this year. But obviously, since Terry joined the band back in April 23, we've kind of wanted to be able to go back to the drawing board and Terry writes all his own drum parts now, and obviously we want to like be able to have him on like records going forward. So
Yeah.
we haven't had kind of used as much of the stuff we initially had tracked as we planned. But yeah, with Cruel, we did all the recording ourselves. With Slow Fuzz, we tracked everything ourselves as well. But production wise, the instruments and all the backing track elements got mixed by the guys at Steel City Studios in Sheffield.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and they were really fun to work with. Obviously, they've worked with guys like Bring Me the Horizon, like Death and Banner have been there a few times and stuff. So
they got in touch a while ago asking if they could do a track with me, and I haven't. There was no reason for it, but I just haven't done it yet. So
no, they were cool. They were like initially, I think like they were going to do like the whole thing and do the vocals as well, but then we sort of just wanted to go a slightly different route. But I think we were really happy with like the instrumental mixes like we got out of it, and we sent that off to Vincent to mix, and he mastered that as well. So it was quite nice to be able to like he did all the drum tracks, and then we were able to come like full circle and be like, can you mix the end product as well? So he was stoked about that, and he was gassed when we told him about the radio play as well.
Nice, that's cool as hell, dude. That's cool as hell. So like I don't really want to bring up like future plans, like you're saying about you got some stuff later this year, but I'm kind of more interested in talking to you about like the different kind of aspects that people might not realize what it's like to be in a band, what it's like to be a musician. You're obviously a multifaceted, multi-talented person. You've got the studio that you're building and the practice rooms that you're building. Obviously you run Mob as well for booking, and you look after me pretty well and other bands. So there's all that I kind of want to at least touch on, because if we go into depth on everything, it's going to be like 6-hour episode first in, and people will be like, what is this?
No, for sure. That's cool.
But talk to me about the kind of things that you know, like the kind of hardships that people wouldn't associate so much with musicians. You always hear about like, oh, it's great, going on tour's fucking amazing, all the rest of this kind of stuff. Just kind of your experience, because you've been in other bands before, Bother as well, but let's just focus on Bother. So
Bother, like fortunately, I'm really fortunate to play with like a really great bunch of guys. Like we all get on really well, and that kind of like definitely makes the sort of like touring element like a lot more like, I don't want to say tolerable, because like we all do love it, but like definitely a lot more enjoyable. I've definitely been in, it's just financial, man, like the financial strain of just kind of like, trying to go out and like play these shows, but obviously we all work full time. Everyone's kind of a little bit skint, really, kind of,
So what does that schedule look like if everyone's working full time? Because this is another thing I think is interesting for people to know or learn about, is if you work full time, being a musician is a full-time job. If you take it seriously, it's 100% a full-time job. So what's your schedules look like? Like, how does everyone kind of fit that in?
It's like with great difficulty, to be honest. So I work patient like 9 to 5. Like I works in sales, like same thing. Terry and Aidan both work in kitchens, so like they can be working up till like 10, 11 at night, and then back in at kind of like 7, 8 in the morning. Like we'll get back from shows sometimes, and like literally they'll have to go like straight into work like the next day, virtually straight out the van and into shift. So like it's a bit just like late practices when they have to be done, early practices, at the minute we're trying to write, so we're kind of working on a body of work that we're hoping to put out for like the end of the year, so we can do a lot of that remotely, but we definitely prefer to like be able to all get
together and vibe off each other, right? So what, when you say a body of work, you talking EP, album?
I think EP is the plan. Nice. We've got another single that we're like wrapping up at the moment, that'll be like our third sort of like standalone release, and then a lot of the stuff that we're kind of writing at the moment, I think sort of the music's sort of taking a slightly heavier turn, and sort of like starting to find our niche a little bit now, with the kind of kind of had a chance to like slow down a little bit, assess the kind of music we want to put out, and so I think we're going to try and work towards a record. And
it's exciting, dude. It's exciting news. I wanted to ask you about the creator. You said about when you're writing. So you're writing at the moment. when we're talking about like scheduling and stuff, I find that if I'm super busy out working other jobs other than music, and then I try and be creative, it's like 80% of the time I think it like saps all my. I think I personally have to be in the right kind of headspace to be able to write good music or half decent music. And normally when you're out working a different job or whatever, you come home, you're like, shit, I've got 3 hours before I need to get in bed and I need to feed myself, clean myself, all the rest of that kind of stuff. It knocks you out of that creative sort of rhythm, especially if you're trying to work towards something. I was wondering how you deal with that, if you get that.
Yeah, definitely. I think after a while of kind of just like not kind of writing super regularly, or kind of like there might be a kind of a period of like a few weeks where everyone's schedules clash and we can't like kind of all get in a room together. I think like after a while of kind of not doing stuff creatively, like it's definitely a lot harder to go back into it and like find the time as like, and find yourself like inspired to write, or at least I think so anyway, and things like that. So yeah, I think like it's important to kind of like try and juggle it as best you can. But yeah, man, with like everyone's schedules and things like that, it can be really difficult. I think like at the minute, obviously, we've got that tour coming up. Obviously, like we're working on the studio, which you mentioned. Trying to like write for like the record and stuff. So like everyone's trying to cram like so much in between like finishing work after like an 8-hour day and then like just doing normal stuff.
And then you try and have relationships as well, and their life outside of work, because like I find a lot of people don't find. Mate, how do your family and friends outside of music see what you guys do? Like, I find that you can get like a lot of people that don't understand just how draining it can be and just how much work goes into it. Like, there's absolutely no time for anything else most of the time. It's difficult to, like, say, put time into relationships, live it absolutely, like go for a 2-day break or something, like go for a walk, like whatever it is, anything that's not doing music or working, it gets really hard to fit that into your life. That's how I feel anyway. Tell me about you.
I think like there's like two ends of the spectrum with it, and I think close family and like friends and like partners and things like that are obviously like super supportive, and like I think probably when we were all like a little bit younger and like kind of doing like bits in like different bands, I guess like to us maybe as well as them, it kind of like seemed like a bit more of a hobby and kind of like maybe something that we kind of would like leave behind after a while or whatever. But I think everyone's kind of at that point where we are now. I think everyone's kind of made that conscious choice that like, no, this is really what we want to try and do. And we're all kind of like putting in so much time and effort. I think like everyone that we kind of would know on a personal level is like really, really supportive. And I think like people that maybe like might not know like quite so well, like that you kind of like maybe meet through work or kind of like just kind of like chance encounters kind of thing, when you kind of bring up the kind of like, oh, we're like in a band or like we play a bit of music or whatever, kind of people might like I don't know, like what we said about like the Radio 1 thing or whatever, like everyone's like, oh, so you guys must be doing like really, really well then. You guys must be making the tee off shows and like like going around everywhere and like getting catered for and stuff, and you're like, nah man, that it was sick, don't get me wrong, but it was like a one-time thing right now or whatever. And like people don't make that connection that like you might be doing stuff as soon as you're doing stuff that they're aware of on like a more general level. I think if especially people not people kind of massively involved in like the scene or whatever, I've assumed it's kind of like, oh, I'm aware of that, so that must mean that people are doing something like doing absolute bits or whatever. And I don't think they really kind of appreciate that you might actually still be operating primarily on a real grassroots level and still definitely like massively independent. Start contrast.
But then also I think there's a misconception for people talking to musicians, talking to people in bands and artists and stuff, that and it goes for wider art as well rather than just music. But I mean, this is a music podcast, so we'll stick to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think people have like a disconnect between the big artists that they listen to, and when I say big artists, I mean literally anyone that you would listen to or go to a show for, like that kind of an artist. and they don't. They think that it's either, or what I tend to hear is that it's either you must make shitloads of money,
Yeah.
or why are you still messing about playing music? You're never going to make a living out of that. They can never be,
Yeah.
or you just need that big break or anything like that. It's like there's never like how are you intending to turn that into a job? How are you like, there's a business side to music or whatever, but I mean, without going into it, what I'm trying to do is like kind of make it generate its own income to a point so that I don't need to be going, oh, I need a big break. I need this, that, and the other. There are different ways of making a living out of music and still being able to do your own thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think they see the radio and the internet and like big stars, or like pretty sad people that are trying to, play to 10 people a night. Do you know what I mean?
I think like, so many different, like, be it like, artists, performers, kind of like producers, anyone really, kind of like so many people that I would like know that are involved in kind of like live music on a general level have kind of got like multifaceted approaches as to kind of how they would like try and like earn throughout the scene, like for sure. And I think like, it's kind of, people do kind of assume like, a lot of people are kind of like focusing on like one avenue, but I think like loads of people got so many fingers in different pies, so to speak, and like, doing like videography or kind of like, like production, like marketing, PR, like, it's I think it's quite rare that someone is solely kind of chipping away at just a kind of like performance route. If like, especially like I say, a more grassroots level anyway, I think like, it's important to be aware. I think people are working, so many different angles to try and like bring in, just cash to like fund what they do. It's not kind of people sitting idle.
Yeah, I think everyone's got like that main thing within their creative spectrum, if you want to put it like that. That they're trying to achieve, or like what they're drawn towards most. But then they more than likely have got all these other skills they could monetize as well. And then they go, okay, so I'll try and do that to fund this. I think, and mate, it feels like a good time to like touch on the studio and what you're trying to do in Cardiff.
Yes, no, keen to plug the studio for sure. The guys would kill me if I didn't. But
it looks like you put a lot of work into it, man.
Yeah, man, a lot of just duct tape and prayers, like is the describe it. But it just came about like as part of a really kind of, from the initial discussion of like, it would be sick if like maybe we could open a space to like go into some viewings, like, actually like meeting up with like, the landlords of the place that we rent, and like, actually like signing paper was sort of like a really quick turnaround. And I don't want to sort of like bore people too much with kind of like how exactly we've sort of like constructed it and stuff, but like, none of us are really kind of technically minded when it comes to sort of like construction or anything. So we've just like, begged, borrowed, stolen materials, we've kind of like, YouTube tutorials and just, hours of kind of like trying to put it together and taking stuff apart. And
you told me you picked up a isolation booth, and they didn't give you the whole thing. There was like a whole thing with that, right?
So it's like a isometric kind of like audio booth. I think it's used for sort of like testing in kind of like audiology sort of capacity beforehand, but we bought it through eBay retailer, and like a total like genuine mistake kind of on their part, but we ended up with kind of like not enough parts of the one that we had needed, but parts from like a different one and stuff, so we had to go back and forth a few times. And whereas they'd come into it secondhand as well, they'd kind of like had all these booths dismantled and just had to guess what parts were what. But
so you've got some Frankenstein booths going on.
Fully, man. And we're gonna have to just like, we've had to like bolt some bits together and stuff, and it's like rent some vans to move it around. It's like, it weighs a ton, but does the job. Like, stand inside and I scream into a corner and like can't hear a thing outside. So.
Anyway, nice. So how long do you think that'll be before it's up and running? Because I know you got like plans to do more in there than just the rehearsal.
I think so. We're basically kind of looking at kind of March. I think March kind of opening
early
time.
March or late March, so a long month.
I like to say early March. I think we're basically, as soon as we played the last show of that run on like the 17th of February, I think we've got like a solid like week and a half after that to get the rest of it finished. And then
that's not long. Sorry, dude, that's not going to be long after this comes out. I'm going to put this out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because it's already February now. And we've been putting this off for like a couple of weeks now.
We have, yeah.
Because I was worried it was going to be so, slapped together and whatever. But I don't see a problem with that first episode or whatever. I think just get it going, moving forward. I'm not trying to derail what you're saying, by the way. I did make a note that you're doing, it's Birmingham, Sheffield, Bristol and Newport, isn't it, with Liquid State? Yeah. And then we're playing just a standalone thing in Brighton on the Saturday. So the 17th. Nice. Yeah. No, gas. It's going to be sick, man. Yeah, I'm really keen. Like, we've not been out and played. In the last show we played was like February the 2nd. December the 2nd. Yeah. Not actually that long ago, but like, it feels like we've not done anything for ages. Feels like a long time, dude.
Itching, man. Yeah, itching for sure.
Mate, the long, it's so bad. Like, I wish you could feel the way that I feel, but I also don't, because as you know, I was supposed to do the band tour in September and it ended up being acoustic. Yeah. Right. For sure. It's been so long. It's been so long.
All the sweeter when you do it though. Like,
I hope so. I've just started my training so that I get like in tour shape as well, because it's in, I think it's 5 weeks now.
Yeah, 5 weeks.
Yeah, I don't want to be this guy trying to sing on stage. It's not going to happen. I'm in training, dude. It's all good. But yeah, so what kind of venues are you playing with that, and like if you can like be a bit real about what it's like to do a run like that, and maybe because you do book as well, you do the booking side of things for other bands as well. Maybe touch on like that as well. What's the process in that, and what's difficult about that, doing it at this level? Or I'm guessing there's nothing easy about that.
Yeah, it's definitely not like handed to you for sure. I think like, there's just, the scene's kind of like, just sort of like the UK industry in general, kind of everything's kind of so accessible at the moment in terms of kind of like new artists, new music, and like, there's always kind of someone that's trying to get the same date, or, promoters that are kind of like just getting their doors beaten down by bands looking for shows. So like, I think you do really have to like put yourself out there to kind of like make sure your stuff's heard for sure. I think this run, obviously we're supporting the guys in Liquid State. We've like, been to see those guys like loads of times, like, when they've been through Cardiff, and we've gone to Bristol. And we jammed with them on a Halloween show like last year. We were going to try and do some dates around that, and it just like didn't come off, just because again, like, time, money, schedules. But we've managed to get these dates booked in for February. It's all been unlocked for like some time, and like, it's going to be sick. I think venue wise, it's all like independent spaces. I think like Subside in Birmingham. I think Record Junkie in Sheffield. I want to say, Sheffield. Bristol Rough Trade. Obviously, there's a few.
I saw that you got the Rough Trade one. Is that the same?
Yeah, where you jammed July, I think. When was it? July, like last year before. But same venue.
Nice. But, that's gonna be sick, dude.
Yeah, man. No, it's gonna be sick. I'm really, really excited. We've not played there before. We've played Bristol a few times, but it's the first time Rough Trade show we're doing. And then Newport, which we've never played Newport before, only up the road for us. But it should be cool, man. I think it's gonna be a sweaty one. It's a really small venue, so.
Mate, Newport is what I want to say about Newport. Newport's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like it is. I've only played like the pub, like in terms of venues. Yeah. But it's definitely a strong flavour to the city for sure as a night out. Like, it's definitely an experience.
It's a strong flavour. I like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like if you had to play, I suppose you'd choose Swansea every day, wouldn't you? But I feel kind of like the same about Swansea. Every time that I've been there, it's been a bit like, Jesus, like take a deep breath. Do you know what I mean?
No, we played Swansea last summer. Yeah, like I had a sick time. It was wicked. Like, yeah,
mate, Swansea's always fun, but I just mean like whenever I played there, it's always been not a bit much. I can't describe it. It's just Swansea. If it's fun, it's like
the show was rowdy for sure, and I think all the people were like definitely like, yeah, full like committed, like it was
committed,
good. Yeah. Lots and lots of pints, lots and lots of energy. But yeah, that's it.
Is there something that you guys go on tour? Do you have any rules, like tour rules for you guys? Like because you'd brought up pints, and I was like, yeah, there's a couple of rules, I guess.
Terry's feet in the van, man. It's like,
oh mate, absolutely fucking sold him out here. Come on, tell us, what is it?
Just keep them locked away, man. Keep them locked away. Like they wander in the night, and like you wake up and there's toes in your face. It's like, yeah, not for me. But yeah, not really. Like I think just lots of Gregs, lots and lots of Gregs.
Yeah, dude, that's actually you're touching on something there that I think is worth a mention. Like you were talking about like self-funding all these things, and I'm guessing, I mean, it's different with my project because I have to pay for everything, and that's just how I run that because it's my project and I bring the guys in to create the band. But that sounds really dismissive, but it's not like I don't see them as part of the band. I do. It's just that I don't. It's not the kind of project where I'm going to go, okay, well, we need to pay 300 quid of fuel. That's X amount each. Like,
divvy that up.
I'm just like, I'll try and, but it's not about me. I'm trying to find out how you guys go about that kind of thing. And going on tour, obviously, when you bring up Greg's, I hate, like, this is personal to me, but like, I hate the idea of Weatherspoons and the owner. I don't like the kind of guy the owner is. So I try not to give them my money, right? It's just a personal choice. It's not a big deal. Like if I meet people out and they want to go Spoons, then they go to Spoons and I'll go and get a pint somewhere else and meet them after. Not a big deal. But when I'm on tour, that's the only time I go to Spoons when we're on tour. Like, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you bring up Greg's, it's like, tell me about it. How finances on tour, mate? What are you saying?
It totally depends. Like, I think, we're never coming away with streams of profit, like for sure. Like, we might make a bit of money on merch or something like that. But I think it kind of like, it depends, obviously, like we might get a little bit of kind of petrol money to kind of like try and always cover at least our fuel expenses, when kind of doing tours in the grand scheme of like budgeting it all up if we can. But yeah, man, other than that, it's just like a massive like Aldi shop at like the start. Just like we pretty much like, if we can't get a couch to sleep on or something, it's just like all bunking in the van. Try and keep it as affordable as we can, because it does just cost money. And like if we try and like support like the venues and like get a pint or two like while we're there or whatever. But you can't just be kind of like caning the beers all the time and like just obviously exceptions to the rule or whatever. But try and like just try and keep the coins in your pocket or whatever, and just cheap food, cheap accommodation, like it's
pretty rough at times, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, it's it's all part of the fun, but it's definitely.
I mean, you would when I was just about to say you wouldn't change it, but you definitely would. You'd change it so that you got a hotel every night, like.
You would change it for sure, but I mean, but the principle of it and what it is at its core, like, I think it does suck sometimes if you're coming back on like the last day or whatever, and like you're putting into like a service station, you're like, I really want to just get like, I don't know, a fat like burger or something that's just like, nice wholesome food, but you're looking at the prices and you're like, oh man, I barely got enough for like a Mackey's coffee. Like,
yeah. So we that t-shirt we sold last night. That's my burger today. That's the thing as well. Like when you sell much, like prices are nuts at the moment, and I try and keep mine like reasonable for me compared to what I've paid for them, and reasonable for I'm still not comfortable saying my fans, but my fans that want to buy merch, I don't want to take the piss. Do you know what I mean? And I know you feel the same, but like it's really easy to forget when you see prices at a merch table that money is literally going straight into the van to get to the next venue. It sounds like a cliche or whatever, but the band's probably already spent the money that you're giving them to buy a t-shirt or some stickers or whatever it is. They've probably already spent that. So it's super, like, it's difficult, isn't it? Because like you can get back. I remember touring before I had my break. Touring before that, I'd get back and I'd be like, oh, sold out of this t-shirt. I've sold some of those t-shirts, and you'd have a few $100 in the bank. You'd be like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, this is a pretty good experience. And now it's like, yeah, I've done a couple of runs in the last 12 to 18 months where I've sold out of my merch, and I still haven't broken even on the tour. It's like, because of like cost of living and all the rest of that bollocks and high prices and stuff. But it's quite cliche to say you'd have to be crazy to try and do this, but it is like, I'm trying to get that across in this podcast as well. Like, that's what I want. I want to get people's like opinions of those sides of the industry that people might not realize. Like, because you get up on stage, everyone's having fun, we've had a good night, buy some merch, and then the guys are freezing their ass off in the van in the morning. They wake up and go, shit, I haven't got enough for a coffee.
I think, and like the nicer the merch, like the more expensive it is to make, and like, your profit margins are smaller. It's like, it's definitely one of those. I think it's not, and you got to, try to keep your prices affordable, and kind of like, I definitely like, the amount of shows I go to, and kind of like, you're looking at the merch table and you're thinking like, oh, like, want to be able to grab something and like support the bands, right? But like, if you got merch at every show you went to or whatever, you'd be even more skinned than like we are right now.
Yeah.
But I think like, trying to keep things affordable so people like look and go like, oh, like that's the right price for a shirt, I'll grab that or whatever. Because I guess we're kind of still at that point where like, the satisfaction of just like seeing people kind of like turn up to, we've played like Leeds a couple of times now, and like, if we go back, there'll be a few heads that are wearing like bobber shirts and stuff. So satisfaction of like getting people out in like your sort of merch and kind of repping around that way, I think kind of outweighs like the immediate drive for profit, like at the moment. But obviously there is still that kind of base need to like generate a return just to keep the whole thing moving. Like
it's so you kind of, it's a knock-on effect, isn't it? Because like until you get to like a bigger place where you can headline 500 cap, 1,000 cap venues and bigger, like you're really struggling to find people that aren't penny pinching as well. So there's every piece of the puzzle, price is high and no one wants to pay. So like that can be merch, that can be fuel for the van, that can be van hire, that could be guarantees on a tour, artwork, like equipment hire if you need that, everything. Like prices are higher and people don't want to pay. So it just becomes like more important, I guess, to make that connection with fans and like try and look after each other. Because I think if you make that connection with people, it will go both ways. Like you can look after them with like doing the best you can do as an artist, and then they'll look after you the best they can, like buying some stickers at your merch table or coming to see you play. Like
kind of thing. No, for sure. I think like just trying to make it as like, and to be honest, like, it's something that I don't think as kind of an artist you should really kind of have to force. I think, you want to be out and like playing music in front of people for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And kind of like, anyone that's kind of at those shows, we're always like super, super grateful to just kind of like, they've given up the time and want to come and like show like interest in the music and stuff like that. And I think like, it's nice to just kind of stand around and chat and if they want to grab a sticker or like pin badge or whatever, and like just chat about the music, like we're always more than happy to like just sit and chill or whatever. But
Mate, I love meeting new people on tour. That's one of the, I mean, I just love singing to people. That's basically the reason why I do that. But meeting people and seeing new places and stuff, it's it's almost the it's almost on the level with playing the music. It's like just being in a new place and meeting people and trying to have a conversation about like whatever at the time, and kind of learn some stuff from people, see what their experience is, and I love that, dude. I love that side of it.
Yeah, man. I think like, we're kind of always kind of going to new places and things like that, and I think like it's nice going back to places like we've been to a few times as well, and like catching up with like we're still in touch with like a whole bunch of the bands that like we've played with, and like dudes that we've met at shows kind of in the last like 18 months or whatever. Like whenever we go back to Leeds, we're always kind of catching up with the Distort boys and things like that. And yeah, like whenever we're in Bristol, kind of like the Cuffs guys will come through, and we get to hang out with them and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go back and kind of maintain those like relationships over the course of traveling about as well.
Yeah, it's fun, mate. Honestly, yeah. Yes, just yes to that.
Yeah. Yes.
So what? Have you guys got new merch coming up for this tour?
Sadly not. We got a whole bunch
after all that. No.
We're not new merch. We have got merch, but yeah, it's just like the tail end of like the last like run of shirts that we did. We're just at the minute kind of like every kind of spare penny we've got is just going into the studio build. So as soon as that's done, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to kind of like look at some different kind of like artwork. And yeah, like don't want to say too much. We've got a few plans of kind of bits we want to do around kind of like some releases and stuff like that. But yeah, new merch is in the works.
Nice. Dude, unless there's anything else you want to cover, if there's anything I've like left off, then I think we're there. And I want to ask you to like share something, but I just put it out there if you think there's anything that I've left off or.
No, not really. No, I think we've done a pretty wide spectrum in a relatively short period. Yeah, I'm always happy to come back on as well. If like you have stuff.
If I've forgotten anything, just come on for a 5 minute. Oh, I forgot to ask you this.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. To be fair, it's kind of nice starting this podcast with you because you've got so many different like levels to what you do, but then also obviously. And I'll say this in the intro, which I haven't done yet, so this will sound weird. That obviously we know each other, we work together in music, and it kind of makes it less of a stressful experience for me. So I want to thank you for that, and obviously thank you for being on.
Yeah, no. To be fair, it'd be cool. I want to highlight to just like anyone that sees it. Obviously, like I started coming to your shows. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was in like college and like when I was first like playing in kind of bands and first starting to get my first experience of like grassroots music and stuff, it was like a boycott shows and shit like that, like Pally and like GLT and yeah, it goes back far, man. Like for sure, it's nice.
Mate, it's a nice full circle thing.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Mate, I appreciate you saying that because I like most creative people, I just fucking kick the shit out of myself in my head all the time. So nice words help, Yeah. Yeah, dude. So the thing that I wanted to ask you really and kind of wrap up, what I'm going to be doing with the podcast going forward, like at the end, I really want to have, I've got a few ideas for this, but I want to have like a thing that I ask everyone at the end. So it'll be like the same ending to every podcast. I'm not there yet. So all I'm gonna ask you, it's not a big deal, but all I was gonna ask you is like throughout your experience in music, if there was anyone listening that is in a band or is an artist or wants to get into booking or anything to do with music, let's have like a couple of things. I was gonna say let's have 5 things, but I'm not gonna do that to you. Like maybe something to avoid, like not to be like, or whatever, some advice like that, and then some positive advice as well.
I think, yeah, in terms of to avoid, just kind of like, just remember why you got into it, I think. Definitely not to avoid, but kind of on that vein, I think it's just important, remember why you got into it, because I think it's easy to get caught up in, the finances, and like, I think, I think all 4 of us see bother as something, all 5 of us see bother as something like bigger than like ourselves. Do you know what I mean? It's not about any of us as kind of individuals. We're all trying to kind of like work towards something bigger. And, you know, when you're all putting in so much time and money and kind of, it can be kind of difficult. Like, you know, if one of you's kind of snowed under at work and isn't able to give as much time and, you know, things like that, I think it can be quite easy to kind of start harboring those feelings of resentment, and kind of someone might have something else going on and can't put in cash, and, you know, oh, well, I'm putting in way more cash than that guy, you know, whatever. And I think just remember why you got into it, and don't kind of, it might get stressful at times, and, you know, trying to kind of take it to where you want it to be. But I think remember why you got into it, and kind of everything else will kind of sort itself out in the background. Positive things, just like,
I feel like that's positive they do as well.
Yeah, positive. I feel like I covered it a little bit in that. Yeah, I think on top of that, just like go around, meet people, go to shows, and watch other bands as well. Watch other bands when you're out. I think that's something like we always kind of like try and at least, obviously, like, you know, you got to get food and, you know, do your thing. Like, you know, I think every time we like go to a show, we're always like got to watch at least like a couple of the bands that are around. I think there's nothing less than like we played a show in Brighton, and like we all had work the next day. We like literally drove up and drove back in the day, and like we felt like such dicks because we turned up, chatted to the guys. Like the other bands were super like complimentary and they were well into it. It's the one and only time we've ever had to be like, yeah, anyway, thanks mate, right, see you later, bye.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, what the fuck,
dude. The thing is with that, I think like it's nice to, when you know that you're going to have to do that, like, oh, I've got to get back for work, so like you can turn up to the show and be like, look, we're not dicks, we're going to have to play and bail because like X, Y, and Z. But like you see it so many times. How long does it take to go and get a burger? Do you know what I mean? Like I've played with bands before that have gone out and gone for like a proper like 3-course meal while the other bands are playing. And it's like, dude, you don't need to do that. Like that's just a dick move. Like don't do that.
I think, like, you know, don't get me wrong, like if people have been in it for like, you know, you can't watch every band all the time, like, you know, especially like when you're touring, like, you know, we only, you know, we don't do kind of like months at a time or whatever, but, you know, you got to do your own thing, and like, if you need to get food or whatever, like, do
100%, dude. Like when it's a longer tour, this is the kind of distinction I make is when it's a longer tour and you're out for a while, like you don't want to be watching, like, especially like sometimes you do get like openers you don't really want to watch, for example, or like you haven't got the time.
It's like,
and also to be honest, like it only really makes an issue. It makes it an issue if there's no one turning up to the shows. You know what I mean? If it's like one of those tours where like no one's turning up and you're playing to an empty room, then like you kind of want some people there. But if you're playing to like a couple hundred people, you're not really going to notice the other bands are there anyway. So it's kind of trying to gauge that. But it is a dick move if the night warrants support like that. You know what I mean?
No, it warrants your presence. Try and give it.
It's a difficult subject, that, man. I kind of wish I wasn't wrapping up on that because it's a difficult subject with a lot of nuance to it.
Edit it out and put it earlier on.
Yeah.
Finish on.
Get that in the edit. Yeah, cool. So I guess I'm going to do an outro. Cool.
Yeah, no worries. An outro sounds good. Thanks for
I'm not going to do an outro now. I'm going to record one afterwards, but I'm going to stop this here by saying thank you again for being the inaugural guest on my podcast, and hopefully it goes on and continues to be something that people want to listen to. So thanks for being here, and I really enjoyed it, dude.
Yeah, same, man. Thank you so much.
So that was my conversation with Ethan Young from Bother. Interesting conversation. I thought covered some cool things. Hopefully it's insightful and brought you guys some value. That's all I'm trying to do here. We'll develop this thing as we go forward, but I've tried to start this in the kind of right way to move it forward and grow it in a way that I think is possible. So if you like what you've heard, I have to say this from day one, but if you like what you've heard, consider like supporting us with a comment, is it? Like a rating? That's the things that you get. I've never done this before. Ratings. I think it's like a thing that you can leave on podcasts, and follow the podcast, I think, is a thing as well, depending on where you're listening to it. And we also do have a Patreon set up and ready to go so that we can support the artists that we talk to. It's a really simple thing, but it's High Hopes and Harmonies over on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/High Hopes and Harmonies. And yeah, you'll see when you get over there, but we kind of split it up differently. A lot of these podcasts kind of set up, and people set up things to like make it turn money for them. But the way that we're doing it is we're giving people the option to split it between the artists or support the podcast. So yeah, that's an option over there. But I've really enjoyed this. Thanks for just listening. If you have, that's still going to be pretty mental to me. Check out One Man Boycott. That's my band. Check out One Man Boycott if you haven't already. Check out Bother if you haven't already. Catch us both on tour pretty soon. Yeah, that was the first episode of my hopefully long-standing podcast. It feels weird to sign off with, but thanks for being here. And here's another track from Bother. It's called Slow Fuzz. It's the one we spoke about mostly in the conversation. But yeah, here it is. And I shall see you next time. In 2 weeks' time, that's what I meant to say. I'm going to aim to get these out every 2 weeks. That's the schedule. I think I know who I'm talking to next time, but I won't say it now, just in case it's not. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And here's Bother with Slow Fuzz.
I can't wait to try this out. Oh, why corral me? I spittle and I found things I shouldn't know. My feet numb through porous skin. I could have made this house a home. Just erase I'm sick of the tension. I'm sick of the hole in my head. I'm sick of the fans who's the moon for war while they sleep in the heads on my chest. I'm tired of the rat race. I'm tired of the clouds facing down. And do you think of me whenever I'm saying your name? I'm chasing your safety, forgetting your savior. I'm losing a grip on my health, and I'm lost for words. When I sleep, I dream of my faith. I pray for demise. Return the cycle. I'm happy when you hurt me. Your eyes run dry. The cancer creeps through fragile bones. I grind my teeth, I bite my tongue. The plague of death has filled my core when you left me. So drag me to the core, so I can finally close my eyes, count my name, and chasing your safety.